everyone, Courtney here. Today is going to be the biggest wake-up call you'll ever hear from this podcast. And though shocking, necessary, and important. Welcome to episode number 80. Let's get into it.
Where inventing, passion, and hard work intersect. Welcome to the Serial Inventing Podcast. Bite-sized, perspective-altering episodes on serial inventing and beyond. From motivating key tips on product licensing to obstacle-busting conversations on transitioning to a full-time serial product developer. Buckle your seatbelt because you're in for a ride. Warning, this podcast may motivate you to make wild decisions that will propel you forward in your inventing career and hijack more of your time for your passion. If you aren't ready to make it happen, then this podcast isn't for you.
There are a few goals I had for this podcast. One, to talk about the soft skills of product licensing and really business in general, and how they are vital and the most important to your own success. Accomplish these and you'll be unstoppable. 2, the same goal as how I view my product licensing coaching position at InventRight. To not have you quit for the wrong reasons. From getting ghosted to accepting rejection, to learning how to develop a relationship and think long-term, to counting your no's correctly, and so on. 3, to give you succinct advice that you can take action on immediately from my own experience. I have received so many kind words, seen powerful actions taken by people in the right direction, and have seen people soar through the messages I've received from this podcast. And for that, I am so grateful that you have let me know this. Sometimes it's a bit surreal. I started this podcast on my birthday on July 20th, 3 years ago in 2022. And at first, I was nervous I would run out of material, but really because I didn't know if I had the right way to say it or the proper advice to give. I thought that product licensing was an endless industry that never ends. And yes, ways to get into companies always does change, and new software does come out. But that's why I have rarely covered those topics, so my material is as succinct and timeless as possible. How many soft skills are there, and how many ways is necessary to attack it at what angle for different perspectives people need it in? I am actually shocked to realize the answer to that is 77. With my first 2 episodes and this last episode being more anecdotal. Would you believe that I feel confident that I have covered as many bases as I could think of to talk about the importance of and which soft skills are necessary? I really thought it was endless. I started to feel that I was covering my bases pretty well when I was planning my next episodes a couple months ago. And that was the first time when I saw the end. Thinking it might be a mirage, I kept hearing the frustrations and perspectives I get from my students at InventRight, thinking I would hear something different to cover, but shockingly, I still haven't. Now, of course, that might change in the future, but what this means for my podcast is it is officially complete. I have covered everything I wanted to and left nothing to be hidden. The keys to the kingdom, just like episode 55 says, are here in these words. If you can master these 77 skills and practice them on repeat, I see nothing stopping you from being an incredible professional product licensor and entrepreneur. To be clear, I am not leaving the industry. I am closing out this podcast because the topics I wanted to cover are now covered. Look at it as 2 seasons worth of episodes you can watch on repeat that become your study book for soft skill success. I thought I would share some stats with you. In over 3 years, I have had 14,371 views of my episodes, 390 consumed hours, 70% male, with 65% of my audience between ages 35 and 59, with 70% of my audience in the US, followed by Canada, then Australia, then others, and streamed in over 72 countries. My most popular episode is still episode 18, Why Your Identity is Holding You Back. I share these stats with you because it's important to know we are not alone in this journey. Many of my students believe their problems are unique to themselves. But these stats and this podcast is living proof that many people are struggling with their own shadow, with Jekyll and Hyde, and with the Kraken, if you have seen those episodes. It's amazing to look back and be proud of my accomplishments as a podcast host myself. I never missed a time in 3 years to put it out at the right time. Planning the podcast for a year prepared me for that, and making sure my priorities were in the right place, which was my listeners. They say that consistency is the most important thing when it comes to putting out episodes at a time your listeners rely on. So I made that a non-negotiable, putting out episodes every 2 weeks at 11:11 a.m. every Wednesday. Sometimes it was pretty hard to hit that deadline, but I made sure I did each time. It's amazing how what they recommend in podcasts is the same thing I recommend for product licensing, as well as known business people like Alex Hormozi. Take these soft skills, apply them to other aspects of your life, and see that this podcast isn't about product licensing at all, but rather how to succeed at something you are passionate about. I've learned from so many incredible people because of this podcast, and so many topics as well, from psychology to philosophy. And I want to thank you, my listeners, my sippers, for taking actionable steps towards your dreams. I feel like so many people these days don't take the step to start their pipe dream or that business they've always wanted to try. Remember, if you don't start, you won't ever have a chance. Starting often has a snowball effect, but the first problem is actually starting. Shame on the person who said you could never accomplish your dreams. But more importantly, make sure that person isn't you. You can always find me by messaging me on LinkedIn, per usual. And this podcast advice is still living, breathing, and ready for you to give your dreams a try if you focus on the soft skills, as that is where 95% of your success lies. I'll leave you with this. I have given you 77 episodes of actionable advice. Have you done all the actions? Have you listened to and adopted these new perspectives into your lifestyle? Don't forget that the keys to the kingdom are always easily findable or given to you. The problem is they are not used. Thanks for tuning in and taking a few bites with me today. And remember, serial inventors don't make excuses. They made it happen. See you soon.